Yesterday, our pro-life President Trump made history when he became the first sitting president to address the March for Life via live video. What a blessing that was. And this last week, the Trump administration announced creation of the Conscience and Freedom Division at the Department of Health and Human Services. This new office is dedicated to protecting the conscious rights and religious freedom of health care professionals. That will protect our health care professionals from being forced to participate in abortion or being forced to provide abortifacient drugs that cause abortion. But, thank you. But most importantly, this president has also honored his campaign pledge to appoint pro-life constitutional judges. Not only has pro-life Neil Gorsuch been appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court, but over 50 other pro-life justices have been nominated, and many have already been confirmed to the lower courts. God has really blessed us. So if you haven't already done so, I would just ask you to please thank our pro-life president and his administration for all he has done to support and restore the culture of life. We need especially to pray for him, to pray for his protection and the guidance for him by the Holy Spirit. And now I'd like to just take a few minutes to focus on what Right to Life of Idaho is going to do this legislative session. We will be working hard to pass the abortion pill reversal informed consent legislation. Now, many of you heard Rebecca Bell speak last night and talk about her experience with the abortion pill reversal. And you will be hearing from her amazing testimony in just a few minutes. But I just want to say that hundreds of women have shared or share Rebecca's story. They have taken that first abortion pill and have changed their minds and have successfully reversed their chemical abortions by using the abortion pill reversal protocol, which has been developed by pro-life doctors and pro-life researchers. And most importantly, these 400 plus women have been able to save their babies with no birth defects. But as Rebecca testified last night, many women are totally unaware that chemical abortions can be reversed if they change their mind. In light of the fact that chemical abortions account for almost half of all the abortions performed here in Idaho, we feel it's so very important to get this information out to women. And that's why Right to Life of Idaho started educating and working hard to attempt legislation to add this information to our informed consent materials on abortion. We want to make women aware of the hotline that they can call if they choose to reverse their chemical abortion. There's a lot of support for this legislation among our pro-life legislators. We expect to have a bill number soon, and just please watch for any legislative updates. And we will, and most importantly, call your legislators if you haven't already done so. In summary, we are working to make this information part of Idaho's informed consent law so that women like Rebecca will have a second chance at life. We ask for your continued prayers for passage of this protective legislation. Thank you again for being here with us, taking a stand for life. May God bless you. May God bless America.
All right, at this time, Rebecca Buell is going to come and share her amazing testimony. And she was raised in a Christian home, and was interesting, was able to find out yesterday we actually have quite a bit in common. And just amazing what God has done through her life. Remarkable testimony of the grace of God and restorative justice and the power of redemption that we see in the cross of Christ. So Rebecca's going to come now and share with us. Let's welcome her here to Idaho.
Thank you. It is a privilege and an honor to be able to share a little bit of my life with you. And today I get to tell you about something you've probably never even heard of. As you just heard Jason say, I did come from a really great Baptist home. I'm from California, and I know you probably think of Californians as a certain way, but I promise you, my family was very normal. My cousin is here, she can sort of vouch for that. And I had a really great life. We were stable, I went to great schools, I had good friends. If you'd asked me when I was a child, or even when I got a little bit older, when I became a Christian, I would have probably told you I was just born that way. I prayed, I went to church, I truly believed that I was a Christian. But when I hit that tough teenage year of about 14, 15, freshman year of high school, things started to change in my life, and my morals started to slip. I hung out with people that didn't share the same values that I was raised with, and before not, that mentality caught up with me. I got into my first serious relationship at about just before I turned 16 years old, and it quickly turned very adult. And by 17, the summer before my senior year of high school, I actually found out that I was pregnant with my first child. And growing up in a Baptist, very, very small church where everyone knows who you are and your dad's on the worship team, this was not supposed to happen to me. And I stress that because so often we think that it doesn't happen to girls like me that grow up on the right side of the tracks and in good homes and knowing Jesus, but it does. And I grew up really thinking that I was pro-life and that abortion was wrong, even though we never really talked about it in our home. So I chose life and I chose parenting, and in just about a 9-month time frame, the time it takes to grow a fully formed baby, I graduated high school early. I turned 18 years old. I gave birth to my oldest son, Eli. I got accepted and started attending Sacramento State University, and I married his father. So there was a lot of life events happening one after the other. And I wish I could tell you that my story ends there and that that's how I was grafted into this pro-life movement, but it didn't, and that's not how I got here. Instead, about 6 months into my first year of college, which is also 6 months into my child's first year of life and 6 months into my marriage, things took a turn for the worst. And the person that I was with became very verbally and physically abusive. There were numerous secrets coming to the light, and I almost felt like I just couldn't do it anymore. And I confided in my parents, partly because we were living in their home and I had no choice. And I was scared and I was ashamed because I felt like I had just brought so much shame to them a year before by becoming pregnant at such a young age. But to my surprise, they loved on me and they supported me and they walked me through this very challenging time. They told me that they supported me leaving the marriage to file for divorce and I could stay in their home and continue on with my plan to finish college. And just as I was about to do so, I was feeling great. I was feeling like this hard part of my life was over, like my son and I had a chance for a better future. But I guess just because I wanted to make sure all loose ends were tied, I decided that I would take another pregnancy test. I did not look pregnant, I did not feel pregnant, I did not think I was pregnant, but naturally, I knew that there was a chance. And to my surprise, after buying the pregnancy test at the grocery store and actually taking it at the grocery store bathroom because I was too scared to take a pregnancy test in my dad's house, again, well, in about 10 seconds, I was staring at the second positive pregnancy test that I had taken in just about an 18-month time frame. My son at the time was 9.5 months old. I was about 6 to 7 weeks away from being 19. I was approaching the end of my first year of college, and I thought, oh my gosh, this cannot be happening to me again. But it was, and this time, instead of choosing life and thinking that I could do it, that's not what I decided. And while still in that grocery store bathroom, I made the decision that I was going to have an abortion and that no one would ever know about it. Like most of us do these days, before even consulting God or talking to any wise counsel near me, I pulled out my phone and I typed in abortion clinics near me. 8 results popped up. There are 8 abortion clinics very, very close to my home, within about a 20-mile radius actually. And I chose a small clinic that was located near my university, a little bit further away from my home, so no one would know where I was going. And I walked in, and it was everything that you hear people describe abortion clinics to be. The people were rude. It was in a rougher part of town. Things didn't look clean. No one looked happy. But at that time in my life, I just thought that this is what I deserved, and it was crappy care for a crappy decision, and that's how I felt. I didn't know that pregnancy centers like Stanton and Birthright existed, and my name was finally called back. And when I went into the first waiting room, I sat there with all of the other girls that were having their abortions that day. All of us were alone. Our support people were not even allowed back there. We were ashamed. We were scared. This was not a decision that was empowering or one that we ever envisioned ourselves making. It was just one that we felt hopeless and like it was the best choice. Before long, I was guided back into the ultrasound room, and I was not allowed to see the screen. I sat up after the woman was so quiet, and I actually had to ask her if I was pregnant, because she did not tell me anything about what was going on in my body, and she informed me that indeed I was. And when I asked the ultrasound image of this baby that I would never meet, that I just sort of wanted something to remember him or her by, she told me that that was actually not allowed, and that in order to have my ultrasound image taken home with me, I would have to write a letter to the clinic director, pay a $35 fee, and check our money order, and they would mail me my ultrasound picture. I was scared of that letter being intercepted by my dad, who often takes my mail and holds it up to the light to see what people are sending me. So I said, never mind, I'm going to go ahead and finish the abortion today. I want to never remember this. I'm already depressed. I'm already sad. And they said, we're so sorry, but it's Friday, and we don't give the abortion pill on Fridays. And I was confused and I was upset, but they scheduled another appointment for me to come back the following week. I was slowly but surely running out of time, but they got me in at about 6 weeks. That's when they scheduled it. But on that day, the day I was supposed to have my abortion, a family emergency happened. My niece was in the hospital, and I had to stay home with not just my child, but 10 or 11 of my nieces and nephews. So there was no way I was getting out of the house, lying to everyone, and finishing the abortion that day. This was the second thing to get in the way of my plan, but despite growing up in a very Christian home, I did not see it as God. I saw it as frustrating, and it sent me into even more of a panic. And sometimes we think abortion is wrong, and abortion is evil, and abortion is murder, and that's true, but trust me when I say that the people obtaining them are not evil, and they're not morally corrupt people. We're confused, and we're in crisis, and I just could not see God at the end of that very, very dark tunnel. Eventually, I got pretty fed up with the way this clinic was treating me. Again, they weren't very professional, so I decided to turn to my phone again, and I found Planned Parenthood. And also while online, I found out all about a medication or chemical abortion. Some of you may have heard it called the abortion pill or RU486. It's a 2-step process, and online you read great things. It's fast, it's convenient, it's one pill and then followed by 2 more. It's natural. It sounded very appealing. I could go back to school the following day. And so before I went to either of these clinics, I had already had in my mind that I would not be having a surgical procedure. I was going to have a medication abortion in my parents' home and suffer quietly. My experience at Planned Parenthood was very similar. I was actually allowed to see my ultrasound image, but the woman told me at 7 weeks pregnant that she actually didn't see a heartbeat and that I might not be carrying a viable pregnancy. And so with that, I was pulled back into the final room, all set to have the abortion that day. And she goes to find a vein. And I don't know how many of you are out there like me, but nobody can ever find a vein in my arm. And they can't take my blood, ever. And so she wasn't prepared to do all the things needed to find a vein. And so she said, I'm so sorry, Rebecca, but I can't find a vein, and you cannot have your abortion today. I was frustrated. I was even more panicked. The third thing to get in my way of having this abortion, I was running out of time. I was getting more attached to this baby. I was feeling a lot more pregnant. Somebody was going to find out soon. And they said, it's okay. Come back the following week. Bring a piece of paper with your blood type, and we'll get you in. I came back to that appointment on March 13th of 2013. I will never forget that day. I brought with them the piece of paper with my blood type so I could bypass that, and I brought with them the Medi-Cal from the Medicaid office because the state of California was covering the cost of my abortion. Planned Parenthood told me how to get them to cover it. I walked into that appointment with my 2 pieces of paper, and I was guided back into the following room where I sat with a woman holding the abortion pill. And she's again going over how it's going to be natural and I shouldn't expect much pain and this is going to be easy. And I started to tear up a little bit. But she said probably the most comforting thing anyone could have said in that time.